Hello. So, let's see here. Everybody's filing in here pretty quickly. Good. Greg, Liam, almost a doctor. Yeah, thank you for your segment. Uh, Kathleen, yeah, more people here than I expected for such early hours. All right. So I guess I'll just get right into this thing. Well, as the title suggested, I was going to be talking about the poinsettia here. Probably one of the most popular Christmas plants we have. Now, I have to do a little bit of full disclosure here first. Here's the poinsettia. The poinsettia is actually a little bit out of my wheelhouse. So I tend to focus on plants you can eat. So if I wanted a plant with nice red head in my garden, I'd go with a hibiscus. That one, and I get a nice looking plant, along with and something I can turn into salad and make tea out of. The botanical name for this plant is Euphorbia pulcherrima. The pulcherrima is credited to German botanist Carl Ludwig Wildown. Wildenau. The name is the feminine superlative form of the Latin and adjective pulcher, meaning the most beautiful. Just double check here on how everybody's doing in the chat. I'll be getting to the point of the claim of toxicity in a little bit. Getting the little technical stuff here. Well, the poinsettia is in the spurge family, and there are edible plants in this family, or at least things that we can make edible, well, such as the cassava and the castor oil plant. Another very popular plant we tend to get a lot of use out of is the rubber tree plant. This is where we tend to get our natural latex rubber from. The poinsettia is indigenous to Mexico and Central America, though most of the ones we have for sale around here actually come from California, and I'll get into a little bit of history on that in a little bit later. And even though the ones that we tend to grow are rather small little houseplants you put in your windowsill, well, these things can get over 10 feet tall. It was described. It was first described as a new species in 1834 by a German scientist, Johann and Frederick Koldschwitz. I'm trying to pronounce these German names. Now, the name in poinsettia is attributed to Joel Roberts Poinsett. He was a botanist, a physician, and he was the first U.S. minister to Mexico, which is obviously where this thing was native to. He had sent samples of the plant to the U.S., which in Mexico was known as Flor de Nochebuena, translated as the Christmas Eve flower. He cultivated the plant in his South Carolina greenhouse, shared the plant with his friends and colleagues, and this is basically how it became popularized in the U.S. and was known by the name poinsettia by around pretty widely by around 1836. And interestingly enough, the U.S. Congress declared December 12th to be the National Poinsettia Day, which was the anniversary of Robert Poinsettia's death. Hmm. Yeah, I got some talk about insects getting hernias here in the chat. See? Well, interesting mention of ants with rubber or tree plant. Ants. I don't know if I've ever seen a group of ants move one, but they do seem to be attracted to the plant ants quite a bit. They tend to be fairly common around here. And interestingly enough, as a house plant, and they tend to be the rubber tree plant tends to be pretty good for cleaning the air. So as an indoor house plant, it's actually a pretty good choice, as long as you can keep it small and trimmed back. At any rate, we're not here to necessarily talk about that particular plant. The poinsettia's association with Christmas may come from a Mexican legend. According to the legend, a young girl named Pepita was sad because she didn't have a gift to leave the baby Jesus at the Christmas Eve service. She decided to pick a bouquet of weeds. When she placed the weeds on the nativity scene, they magically transformed into beautiful red flowers. Uh, and some versions of the story, you have it that an angel instructed her to pick the weeds and then came down and transformed the weeds into the beautiful flowers. And I guess this association with Christmas caught on and along with the ambassadorial relations with Mr. Poinsett there. Well, aside from these magical elements in the story, there is one little problem. The red on the plants, and so the poinsettia, aren't flower or petals. What you're looking at are actually the specialized leaves called bracts. Now, these leaves do basically serve a similar purpose to what you'd get with a flower petal, as means of attracting pollinators, but they're not flower petals. The flowers are, in fact, the yellow in the center. So, yeah, what you're looking, so that center part is the actual flower. Let's blow that up a little bit more. There we are. So yeah, that yellow part, those are the flowers. And then we have these specialized leaves, the bracts. I believe I actually have a, let me see here. I believe I grabbed a nice diagram for us to look at. Ah, yeah, here we are. There, that's a good little diagram. So you can see the flowers, the bracts, and the leaves in the background there, the green ones. I think I'll just leave that one up. Oh, so I'll bring that one. Okay. All right. Let's see, where am I? Lost my place. Yeah, I'll just check the stream then. See how everybody's doing in the side chat. Oh sure, here's some hand weaving and someone offer here's help pecking it. Mustn't be an angel. Well, me just checking my notes here. Ah, okay. You're back on track. And the bracts aren't always red. There is actually quite a variety of different colors that they can come in. So I can give you a few examples of that. Yeah, right here. So here we have quite a few examples. Those of the different colors that they come in. We have this is actually sort of a creamy white. You have a pink one here. You have your standard classic red. A few more examples here. And blow that up a little bit. So we have almost sort of an orange color ones here. They do come in the orange color. This is a selection of these are pink ones that almost look a violet to me. Kind of trending towards that direction. And of course, they also come in sort of a marbled color, like this example here. So, and there's basically around 100 varieties of poinsettia you can pick from. So it's not just the red ones. The red ones are just the most common, probably because of the whole Christmas color thing. You got the green leaves, the red bracts, green, red, yada yada. All right. Now, for the sales and its popularization, excuse me for 1 minute. Sales and popularization of the poinsettia in America is also attributed to Albert Eck. He began cultivating and selling the poinsettia in Los Angeles in 1909, which today most of the poinsettias that we buy are grown in California, which makes sense. They're a somewhat subtropical plant. The Eck family, his promotion of the plant is what made it such a traditional holiday plant here in the States. Paul Eck Jr., who took over the family business in 1963, he expanded this whole thing. As a result, most poinsettia I just mentioned most poinsettias are grown in California. And because of all that expansion and how popular they became for the holidays, they're the number one best-selling flower flowering potted plant in the U.S. The sale of the plant contributes to over $250 million overall to the U.S. economy each year. All right. Seems the leaves being red would affect how the plant gathers energy from the sun and shifting into the different part of the color spectrum. No, the green leaves are what it uses for sun and for photosynthesis. The red leaves are a specialized leaf used sort of in the same way as a flower petal to attract pollinators. So go over this picture here again. Just to illustrate. So you have the you have your green leaves here in the bottom, and those are your leaves that are doing all your photosynthesizing. And you have the specialized red leaves, which, given enough light, certain situations, the red leaves can turn green. So that's what you get there. I'll go back to that picture in a little bit. Ah. Now, seeing as this is already brought up, came up in the chat a little bit on the how toxic and dangerous the poinsettia is. This is largely a myth. Thinking that the poinsettia is poisonous is, well, it's actually not. But it can cause a mouth rash, diarrhea, nausea, and possibly vomiting if you eat it. This is because of the latex in the sap, similar to its cousin, the rubber tree plant. So it does have latex as well. And if you're sensitive to latex, getting that sap on your skin, in your mouth, yeah, it's going to cause you some trouble. Researchers tried to find a poisonous dosage of the plant, and after feeding about 1.5 pounds of it, it's about 500 to 600 leaves. If you've ever seen a poinsettia up close, you know how the leaves are, or how big those leaves are. They still didn't reach the point where the thing was deadly. So unless your kid's going around eating groves of these things, they're probably not going to kill them. Now, see if I find the thing there was another. No, that's not the one. Let's see if I'm surprised I don't have that in my notes. Well, at any rate, we did try to find in the toxic levels for latex. They were using a different plant, and they were feeding it to a goat. And I believe it was. Let me see if I can find in the article again. It got buried on me. This poinsettia, how to care for them. Here we are. I think this might be it. Yeah, here we are. Share that screen. A study on Lactophareous plants' toxic effects in goats. It's the abstract, the effect on Ingo. They're basically looking at the effects of the latex in this particular situation. The administration of latex makes at 1 milliliter per kilogram of body weight via the oral route, or at 0.005 milliliters per kilogram of body weight intravenously, or intra intraperitoneal route, caused the death of the goat between 20 minutes and 4 days. So I don't know how much latex is in a poinsettia. So, though given orally, the lower dosage had no effect. Didn't kill them. It's basically what I was reading there. I figured that kind of give us some relative rough idea of the toxicity when it comes to latex, which should kind of, we'll go back to the poinsettia, seeing as we're looking at latex in that that plant being the culprit for causing problems. Thank you for doing the calculations on me. Actually, I probably just read that out. Just googling LD for poinsettia in rat. That's worked out to be about 25 grams per kilogram of body weight. Okay. Works out that over 1.5 kilograms for me. 3.87 pounds. I don't eat that much. Yeah, I don't think I eat that much salad either. So yeah, so 1.5 pounds with the testing of it. It was definitely even about half of would be to get any kind of dosage, or even less than half. Now, the idea of the poinsettia being poisonous probably comes from the story where in 1919 a 2-year-old child of an army officer who was stationed in Hawaii died of poisoning, and the cause was incorrectly associated with the poinsettia leaf. So that's, even though it's been basically debunked in 7 Ways to Sunday, the story persisted. Now, getting to a little bit of the care of this plant. Excuse me. Okay, getting to a little bit of the care of this plant. Well, first of all, seeing as this is a plant that's usually sold closer to wintertime or colder weather in the U.S., and it's being more of a subtropical plant, you gotta be a little bit careful of the weather here. It doesn't really like anything below 65 degrees Fahrenheit, or that's about 18 in Celsius. So when you're buying it in the stores, there's one thing to look for is the plant sitting in a drafty area? If not, don't buy it. When you do buy it, maybe bring something you can cover the plant when you take it outside to take it to your car. That way you can protect it from the cold and from any breezes hitting it. Your cat would be fine. You might vomit on the carpet afterwards, but it won't kill the cat. So, and ideally, it likes temperatures between, as I mentioned, in the low end and being 65 degrees Fahrenheit, the high end and being about 70. So it has it's a fairly small range, but I imagine it probably could handle a little higher heats than that at no problem, and being subtropical. Uh, when you pick out one at the store, or you want to look for one that has a full leaf color, or so the bracts should be fully red, and you shouldn't see any of the green on the bracts. Look for spots that maybe dying, wiltering. And you also want to look for the flowers being in the full bloom, kind of like what we see in this picture here. Oh, I almost forgot to mention something about the poison is in this aspect of these things. Apparently, at least in Wikipedia's his article, well, there was a newspaper from in the Honolulu Star Bulletin from 1913, which goes back a little bit earlier than in the story of the little girl eating and dying from the plants, where it claims that the plant is deadly. So that's apparently a clipping from that 1913 plant article on the newspaper. So apparently, the claim that the rumors that the plant was deadly existed prior to that event, and that made it more popularized and made people kind of lose their mind over the plant. But all right, little side tangent there. So as I was mentioning, and you want to look for the flowers to be fully developed, the leaves to be fully red, or the bracts to be fully red. It's not sitting in a drafty area of the store, and cover it when you're taking it to your car. You know, watering the plant. Uh, I've been getting a little bit of there was some little bit of conflicting information in watering it. Some were saying when you see the surface of the soil dry, you should water it. Uh, Doing a little quick cramming in before this thing, I went over to a video where it looks like they're growing them commercially. And that person suggested to water the plant thoroughly, so all the way to the bottom of the pot should be completely soaked. And then once you've done that, you let the thing dry out before you water it again. So one thing about this, a lot of the poinsettias that you get it from the store will have like a wrapping paper on the pot. This is actually kind of a problem to have it in when you get it, because that paper can actually retain the water or in the pot, and it doesn't want to sit in water. So you want a well draining soil. I would imagine in the best choice, given a little bit of the information I've got, would be to do the finger test. That's basically where you take your finger and you put it into the soil about half an inch deep, and see if there's moisture in there. If you don't feel any moisture, you then you water. Now, this would take kind of experimenting around and with the plant, but I was kind of reading about how it requires water, the water requirements. I was thinking probably maybe putting it into a grow bag it might help, and setting it in a tray of water, at least enough, not not too much. You don't want it something that can soak up in a matter of hours, and do a sub watering, because I've found doing the watering from underneath the plant that way, it tends to get the entire thing in, in so you know moist is than and just watering from the top up down. So basically, for uh, that method of watering, you would basically want to take a tray or something. You would put the pot in the tray, and you'd fill the tray with water, and then and the water would basically get soaked up into the soil from underneath. Like I said, I don't grow poinsettia, so I don't know how well this method would work with this particular plant, but it might be something worth trying. You need to make sure that you have the right amount of water, though, because you don't want it just sitting in the into a tray of water, or where that doesn't get soaked up in a few hours. Uh, and as for the lighting, seems the, the recommendations on lighting as seems to kind of vary from site to site from what I looked at. One thing he said you want to put it into direct light with a south-facing window, so you can see getting the most direct light you can get that way. Though another site was saying basically here you do supply it with about 6 hours of bright light, indirect light daily. The placement near a southern window, western or eastern window was great. Okay, so it's seems to be kind of splitting it. So you want to do maybe the 6 hours of direct light. Some other sites they came across were saying about 8 to 9 hours. Uh, well, this one site actually does say a to avoid direct sunlight, which can cause the colorful bracts to fade and the tips of the foliage to dry out. Which another apparently popular thing that people do with their poinsettias is to place them on in fireplace mantles. That is not a good place to put them. The heat from the fire will destroy your plant. Now, if you want to display the plant for like a dinner or setting for holiday days, is you keep it in the window until you want to use it, and you take it and then you put it on your dining table. You have your nice decoration. Then you move it back to the window after you're done. Yeah, maybe some of the times we're in metric. uh, see, I was will check in on the chat here since I haven't been paying too much attention. Hope I haven't been boring you guys too much with this whole thing. What do we got here? The equal 5 kilogram and 4 to 100 grams or 3.5 ounces. That's a lot of a lot for a cat to eat. Yeah, that is quite a lot for a cat to eat. I've never seen a cat eat more than a couple of mouthfuls of grass, which makes them vomit. Yeah, I doubt your plant is going to get completely munched away by a cat. The only a dog might be more of a worry when it comes to eating the whole plant, honestly. But even then, I kind of doubt it. Well, you wouldn't want to eat them in general, well, being that the sap has latex in it and can cause vomiting. Though interestingly enough, the Aztecs, besides using the plant for the red dye, they would use the sap to help treat fever. Little kind of off shoot there. Uh, as the plant get, as the months go on, and the plant will lose all of its foliage and go into a dormant state. At that point, you want to cut back on the watering, and I believe that is actually the good time to fertilize it. So when you first get the plant, where it's nice and full in bloom, and you have your nice fully red bracts, you don't need to fertilize it. That comes later on. So when the plant begins to fade, also once it goes into its dormant state, you can cut it back. Most of the recommendations I've seen for cutting it back is about halfway. Though I imagine if you're really kind of antsy about cutting back your plants, just do maybe about a quarter. So this will help with the growth when it comes back next year. All right. Now, I believe they mentioned that usually you still start seeing the things dropping off after about it's 6 to 8 weeks, and it'll go into its dormant phase around March, if I remember correctly, with what they were saying. Now, as it starts, once you start seeing growth on the plant again, wait, a question here. What do you think of those little white sticks to fertilize house plants? Actually, I don't really care for them. If you want a slow release, you can actually look into the types of nitrogen that's usually in the fertilizers. They'll usually be separated into a long release and a slow release and a quick release. So usually your fertilizers will give you a quick boost and then have another one that would be a slow release. So it's broken, it's released as the bacteria in the soil breaks it down. But as far as the plant is concerned, the synthetic stuff, the natural stuff, it's all basically the same stuff. As far as the plant's concerned, and however, with the artificial stuff, you can kind of disrupt some of the soil life. But of course, this is referring to potted plants, and it's out in your regular garden, and you really don't need anything at all. Another tip I was seeing on in these poinsettia as far as taking care of them, and was as soon as some people, well, as soon as they get them, and like to transplant the thing into a larger pot. I can definitely see where that'd be a useful thing, being usually when you're buying plants from the store, or they tend to be kind of root bound when you first get them. So giving them a little bit more room to grow could actually be helpful. Though you're also potentially putting your plant in shock, but when you transplant it. So if you want something that's just purely decorative, if as we usually buy these for, that could be a bit of a problem too. Soil life. I do have a farming in Isekai. A So when getting back to the care, once you see either new growth on the plant, yeah, you can place it in direct sunlight to resume resume regular watering. And of course, once it starts getting its foliage back, you want to go to the direct sunlight, I guess. Yes. And that would be the time when you fertilize the plant. Now, around the end of September, you can do something with it of a sort of a forced blooming. That's where you take the plant and you cover it so that it's not getting any light. You have it in this completely pitch black environment for about 15 to 16 hours. This will trigger the plant to bloom, and that will give it those nice bright red bracts and give you the nice little yellow flowers. And it requires this light dark cycle, well, in order to actually get that nice his vibrant color on it. Yes, the soil life is often and heavily overlooked. Though interestingly enough, even in your dead soil is going to have soil life in it. Now, some plants will actually devote some of its resources to the soil life itself, to build up the right sorts of bacteria. That's kind of where you get into your legumes and stuff of being nitrogen fixers and whatnot. But anyway, that's for a different discussion. Now, as I mentioned in the thing, and will keep its color once it gets that nice vibrant red for about 8 weeks. And it drops off around March. Shrink. So, do we have any more questions in chat here? Yeah. Horn shaving? Living soil? Oh, a different thing into Google before. Now, I don't think I've heard the term horn shaving there. Interesting. Well, since we're into discussing a little bit on soil, well, when you fertilize is the poinsettia, it doesn't really take anything fancy. You can use an all-purpose fertilizer. I kind of like the Dr. Earth fertilizers myself. Uh, that works as a nice all-purpose one. I would recommend steering away from balanced fertilizers, where it's like the 10-10-10s, because the nitrogen is the higher one that you want. The other two aren't really as necessary. You can tend to not soak into the soil as efficiently. So if you're just scattering the fertilizer on the top, the phosphorus and potassium are basically going to stay on the top of the soil. So another thing for doing with fertilizing is you kind of want to mix it into the soil a little bit, unless you're just fertilizing for the nitrogen, in which case yes, that will drain down and being more water soluble into the soil. That's also the reason why you tend to replace the nitrogen in more often, and because it gets washed out much easier than the other elements. Let's see, looks like I have about 10 more. What about Miracle Grow? I don't know its numbers. Uh, I used to use the stuff. I don't use it anymore. I move away from the artificial little stuff. It's a lot of the higher big wig gardeners will actually you steer away from altogether. But as I mentioned, nutrients is nutrients to a plant that can. So I would save if using something like Miracle Grow as a Hail Mary to try and save a sick and dying plant. Though you could also end up disrupting the soil life and all that with these artificial fertilizers as well. So since you don't have the bacteria doing the work to take down the nutrients, it's usually and honestly, like I said, going with something like a Dr. Earth or something, being more natural, it works much better. It's often your care here. It's reasonable to assume it's sick and dying. Well, just follow a few simple care tips and it should do just fine. And usually, with sort of house plants such as the poinsettia, it's usually a watering problem or a lighting problem that tends to get them, or a cat. You know, yeah, the cat can get your plant pretty good too. Uh, Goat hoof clipping as well. I could imagine myself doing this. Hmm. Or using the goat hoof clippings as a means of fertilizer. I could see how that could work. Yeah, so it starts to look better. Salmon and we'll eat it. Yeah. The only thing I can think of for helping with that would be to either put the plant in a room where the cat ants aren't going, or possibly you hang it from the ceiling. Though, considering the way the cats can jump and get up to high places, that might not necessarily be the foolproof plan. Alright. What do I have? Okay. Yes. Happy Boxing Day. Yes. Guinea pig droppings and toenail clippings made great fertilizer. That's interesting about the toenail clippings. I could see how that could be used as fertilizer for his marijuana plants. Yeah, being that the guinea pigs are herbivorous, is you could probably use their droppings directly into the as a direct source of as direct fertilizer instead of having to put it through a through your composting, like you would with chicken manure. Even though chicken manure usually you're feeding our chickens more of along the lines of plant matter anyway, but it tends to be very heavy in nitrogen, and it can actually burn your plants. But with things like rabbits, guinea pigs, eggs, really, any rodents, if you have any gerbils or keep any pet rats, yeah, those droppings can be used directly into your garden. So, and so we got about 5 minutes left. So I'll start getting the links. I'll start getting the links ready for the wrap up stream here. And marathon wrap up. That's it. Okay. Well, since we have just a few more minutes here, does anyone else have any other questions? I don't know how long it would take for the horn shavings to break down in the soil, though. That'd be my only real question on that. I mean, I know like with things like fingernails and all that, they tend to be hard to break down. But so I would maybe suggest is to maybe putting it into your compost. Let it do all its breaking down there, and then put it out into your garden. What are you thinking in the gravy? A little bit of starch, a starchy substance. I guess like maybe a little bit of flour. They might be a bit crunchy in your gravy. Toenail clippings. Though interestingly enough, if I keep a little cup here on the side of my desk for messes that my bird makes, and I'm cleaning out his food bowl. Well, I usually take whatever's has been chewed up and remains, and I toss it into that cup. And once it's full, I dump it out into my compost. But also occasionally dump some nail clippings into there as well. Yeah, I could see how might it serve as a slow release form of nitrogen. it would take time for it to break down. So yeah, that would work. Hey, you don't want to tell anybody either that they're there. Yeah. That'll be our little secret. Okay, yeah. I best get the links over to you guys here. So there's the link directly to the wrap up, and if you want the full list, you have that. So that one's the full list, and I still got about only a few seconds left until the clock ticks over here until it's about 5. So I just keep going here until the stream get. Do you want me to keep going until the stream gets started, or do you want me to shut this thing down at the top of the hour here? Or purple? It's up to you. Should I wait for you to get the wrap up stream started, and I'll come join you? And actually, let's just close that out. Go back to this Christmas background there. Yep. Okay, you're starting it right now. Okay. Well, I hope I didn't bore everybody too much, and I hope you learned a little something along the way. So I'll close this out now, and I'll join in purple in a little bit. So see you there.